Hello again, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today, I want to talk about the virtues of snowshoeing and why it might be a great outdoor activity for you and your family in the wintertime. I didn't start out a snowshoer. Like most kids who grew up in and around the mountains, skiing was my primary winter outdoor activity. I didn't come to snowshoeing until I came to climbing. I came to climbing because I tore my knee playing soccer. I've had my right knee reconstructed 3 times, and it reached the point where I just couldn't do the explosive movements that sports like soccer or skiing required. So as I got more serious in my climbing, I started going higher and in all seasons, and being able to climb snow and ice became a prerequisite for the goals that I had. So eventually I just had to use snowshoeing to get out to the climbs that I wanted to get after in the first place. Snowshoeing was just a means of transportation. But eventually, as I started to do it more and more, I started to realize that snowshoeing had its own benefits. Snowshoeing is a great winter activity for the family. It's incredibly accessible. You can easily spend $150 a person per trip if you're renting skis, buying lift tickets, and spending the $10 on each pizza slice that you do if you go skiing at a resort. Comparatively, you can rent snowshoes for about $10 to $20 per person per day. You can easily spend $2,000 to buy top-end ski equipment. Top-end snowshoes cost you something closer to $200. You don't need exceptional athleticism either. If you've got members of your family who are maybe less inclined to get outdoors, or you've got young kids who aren't fully body aware yet, the natural extension of snowshoeing from our walking motion and the limited number of techniques makes snowshoeing a pretty easy transition. And if you're going into the backcountry, on snowshoes, you're typically looking to avoid steep slopes, whereas if you're skiing in the backcountry, you're actively looking for steep slopes. And with steep slopes comes the threat of avalanches. If you're not up on your snow science, then snowshoeing is a safe alternative. And you're out in the snow. What kid doesn't love being out in the snow?
That'd be fun.
All while moving at a pace where snowball fights and snow angels and snowmen are a real possibility. You can mix up your experience to match your kids' interests and attention spans. And that gets to what I think is one of the core virtues of snowshoeing. It is slow. A number of years ago, I read a book by Kurt Holting called The Circumference of Home. Now, Kurt Holting is a commercial fisherman who lives in the Puget Sound area in Washington state, but he also owns a sea kayaking outfitting and guiding service based in Alaska. And he was having, I guess you could call it a crisis of conscience about his carbon footprint, particularly due to his travel and how much air travel he did. So he decided that for a full year, he wouldn't travel any further than a 100-mile radius from his house. And he also decided that he would make all of his travels human-powered. So hiking, biking, kayaking, those kinds of things. And he makes this point that he began to literally notice things, not just figuratively, because he had slowed down. That interesting rock outcropping across the bluff, or that strange-looking tree by the house, or that trailhead that I never noticed zipping by on my way home on my commute at 45 miles per hour. But now that I'm walking, I can't help but notice. And I even contemplate, what would it be like to take that trail? He makes the point that our bodies were programmed for this. He writes, "Our minds were shaped on a biological anvil that matched our senses to the world at a speed of about 3 miles per hour. Snowshoeing slows us down, so we have the opportunity to notice things." The snowshoeing environment is also quiet. Snow is ice crystals surrounded by air, and like anything else that traps air, your sleeping bag or down jackets, that air insulates. And insulation not only hinders temperature transfer, it also hinders sound transfer. There's ample opportunity for calm, for quiet. And when you're moving, your senses are alive in their connection to nature. The nip of the cold air in your nose, the rhythm of your steps crunching the snow, your breath visible and in time with those steps, sight, sound, and touch all coming together. there's a different energy than we get in our day-to-day lives, where we seem to move through our environment in spite of it, whereas snowshoeing invites us to move in harmony with our surroundings. Between slowing down and the quiet, snowshoeing creates space, and we have the opportunity to fill that space with the things that matter to us, the opportunity to take that trail we never noticed, the conversation we otherwise wouldn't have had among the din of our day-to-day activity. So what do you like about snowshoeing?
Fun. It's good. And, it's way the hiking. I love hiking. It's similar. It's just like in snow with a little more gear. But it's basically hiking and it's super fun.
We can choose to fill that space with connection to each other and connection to our world. So we've all been living through COVID-19, and we're probably all feeling a little more shuttered in than we ever have before. And for some of you, maybe the fact that the winter months are now closing in is making you feel like, well, there's one more thing that's going to make it hard for me and my family to enjoy the outdoors. I simply wanted to offer up snowshoeing as a potential solution to that problem. That's not to say that skiing isn't fun. Skiing's pretty great. But for something that doesn't have all of the flash of magazine covers and film festival premieres, my family gets an awful lot out of snowshoeing. We use it to stay connected to nature and connected to each other over the course of the winter months. So how do you and your family find places for that connection during the cold days? We'd love to see a conversation in the comments below. If you found this video helpful or inspirational, please hit that like button. And we're about to release a series of videos that are on the more practical side regarding snowshoeing. If you want to be alerted as those or any other videos that Short Guys Betaworks produces are released, please subscribe and ring that bell. And as always, if you have ideas for content you'd like to see, you can drop those in the comments, because we want to keep producing that content that's going to help you get more out of the big outside.